Hey, welcome back, Visions fans. Ready Player Will here, getting a really head start on the King Mont release that's coming next week, supposedly, or the week after the latest. This is kind of a big fire overview as well, because that element has been severely underutilized in the game, and I just wanted to get a head start on things, kind of preface what to expect, and yeah, so this video itself, quick King Mont overview, and I'm just going to briefly go through a lot of the stuff that I normally do. It's going to be a brief look at the Phoenix Esper that's also coming out for him, a snapshot of the current fire characters, just how it all fits together, because mono comps are, becoming more of a thing at the moment, and then finally a vision card analysis for the fire elements as well. So this is more than just a King Mont character review. That's going to be coming when he does come out. This is really more like a high-level fire overview, particularly because of when he comes out, how he's going to affect it. So let's jump into things. King Mont overview. General thoughts. One of the best tanks in the game. Double cost unit though, so he is a little more expensive, but he by far will be the best tank that currently exists in the game, and will be for quite some time. Options of passive hate like Dwayne, or generated hate like Warrior of Light, so two different ways to potentially play with that, and he has an absolutely immense health pool, by far the biggest in the game. He can hit 10k, and we're going to see it at the very end. Fantastic stats on the Esper overall. Fantastic stats on the character overall, and then he enables fire in a way that it hasn't been seen before in the game. So all of these things make him an incredibly valuable unit. So one thing to note though, save your spring medals at the moment. This is something that's kind of offered with the summon pools at the moment. There's a very high chance that King Mont will be added to the spring summon pool because the near units were, and if he's coming out next week, he's going to be in that time frame. Gilgamesh and Knight of Ruined Stern are only one shard in there at the moment, and they're also double cost units. I'd actually be kind of surprised if they introduced King Mont and also made him one shard, but we'll get to a breakdown here in a second. Either way, great value. The problem is you receive them from the summon banners, but they're mostly paid, so you really have to balance, if you want to actually put money into this on how much it means to you. That being said, it is an immensely huge value. The normal shot, 5 shards for a double cost unit, normally 500 viz. So in order to get 100 shards, it's 10,000 viz. So that's a lot of Visior for 100 shards. But the spring metal shop, if it's a truly one-for-one exchange, yes, it's 2,000 paid Visior to get it, but you get 100 summon medals, so you theoretically get 100 shards. Long story short, in order to get 100 shards, normally it'd be 10,000 Visior, or you could do 2,000 paid if you're doing that. And if it is 2-for-1, where they bump up the double cost, it still ends up being 4,000 paid. So again, really big economies of scale there, depending on how hard you want to pull for them and what you want to put in there for money. But I at least just wanted to highlight this because it is a strategic thing to how you can maximize your resource use, if that makes sense. So getting into the character overview, brand new fire unit for the jobs. They introduced Arc Lord for him, and Arc Lord is absolutely awesome. Nightblade, which is one of my favorite classes in the game, and then Ninja as well, just for some of the stat rounding out that he has. He equips a sword. He's got armor, helmet, accessory for equips, move of 3, jump of 1, so relatively standard overall there. The resistance is one of the things that makes him so incredibly tanky. 25% slash, 10% pierce, 15% to missile, so all incredible jumping off points to build resistances against there. He's 10% weak to strike, which no big deal. There's a few ways to hedge it, and strike's not that popular anyway, so nothing to fear too much. And then magic resistance of 0, but that can easily be built up. So overall, the resistances are out of this world good. Like probably my favorites on the tank, any of the tanks overall. And then status elements, it's blind, and then stop. Either way, decent. So the character stats, this is really important. Total accuracy, he's actually very, very accurate. So he's got way above average luck and way above average dexterity. The total innate accuracy without the Nightblade passive and without his luck boosting passive isn't bad. 160 is above the average. He's not going to hit everything in sight, but that's still really accurate considering that's, without considering any extra accuracy built in. If he does equip the passive, he does become technically the most accurate character in the game to date, so that's really important to note. In terms of evasion, he actually does have some evasion. Now, he's not an evade unit by any stretch of the imagination, but the average evasion rate is 36%, and he's boosting 55%. That's really, really freaking awesome considering he's a tank. That's when you talk about resistances, health pool, and now there's the chance that he's going to be missing attacks as well. Like, it's going to be really hard to actually decently chunk away at him and try to kill him. And for those of you that want to know more about the stats, I have a video card at the end there and the link below for how evasion and accuracy works in the game. Highly recommend that you watch it. Finally, just kind of a quick tank comparison, if you will, for like health pool, some of the general stuff. So this is just the characters with absolutely nothing equipped. This is them just thrown in the builder naked and no passives, no nothing. Literally just base. King Mont, 5.2 thousand HP, which is far above what the other tanks all offer so far. So immediately off the bat, he's got a significant advantage. Defense is second only to Engelbert. He's a point above Warrior Warrior Light. SPR, he's got none, but that's okay because there's ways to hedge that if you really needed to. He's not a magic tank, but he can take magic fairly reliably. And then the resistances, he starts at 0, but overall, the resistance for the tanks, they all have their role. Rain is obviously a magic tank. Engelbert is physical-only tank. Dwayne is kind of a hybrid depending on you build him. Same with the Warrior of Light. But King Mont overall is by far one of the stronger tanks in terms of not only the HP and the defense starting off, but the resistances as well. And the master ability, AoE resist to 15, really, really important. We see that being a critical part of Yuna as well, where that's one of the reasons why she can survive so long, is she's got that, built-in resistance to her. So him having AoE of 15 is an awesome, awesome survivability trait as well. In terms of the jobs overview, so this is going to be really high level, and I wanted to go over this briefly. The passives, he can increase his defense or HP, start with hate if you wanted, like Dwayne, increase attack or accuracy, increase acquired AP, agility or luck, or move or jump. So ton of versatility there for how you want to build him based upon the 2 passives. For counters, nothing special there. He's got a reduced damage one, which is probably the optimal one, but counter swing and a 50% poison chance counter attack. So overall, nothing too crazy, but it's there. The Arc Lord job, this is where things are amazing. So we can generate hate off that job as a active ability. That makes him, to me, an upgrade over Dwayne, because Dwayne, although starts with hate, can't generate hate afterward. That's a big demerit. And then inverse to Warrior Light, he starts off with no hate, and so because he's one of the slower characters, it's not until he uses Brave Presence that you actually get to, influence the AI, if you will. So the fact that Mont can start with hate and generate hate is a really, really important thing for his kit. He has a barrier break, he's got a disable ability, he's got AoE element resist to 15 for teammates, AoE slash imperil 38% like Kotetsu that we see on Gilgamesh, and his X ultimate ability, he can increase his defense and restore CT of 400 times. It's kind of like the Eldyra limit break in the Rob TMR, where it's kind of like instant ability. So it's super powerful. That's just the main job. On the sub job, he's got, spelling mistake, attack magic break and AoE regen. So overall, great job. The Nightblade sub job, we're really familiar with this by now. He can increase pierce or missile resistance, which is freaking crazy considering he's already at 10 and 15% resistance to that. So 20% on both of those simultaneously is incredibly versatile. Stun Blade, AP Drain, which is niche. And he can decrease healing power. Again, when you're talking about Yuna being a strong healer, this is a really valuable ability. So, you throw him in the mix and he can decrease healing power, really awesome. The ninja sub job, you're not going to use it much, but he's got a non-weapon type attack, which means it's not considered slash or pierce or missile. It's just an attack. He's got a triple hit technically, so it's really weak, but it's got a 20% chance to crit, but it's still a triple hit, so chaining potential and raids and whatnot. And then he's got an ability that can increase accuracy by 60, and it guarantees critical hit. So that's a crazy great ability, particularly if you're seeing like 2B and some evasion meta coming into play. His limit break, called King Leonis, it's an AoE 67% chance to inflict Berserk, and it does damage. Now, Berserk, some of you may have seen it with Tidus and kind of an idea of what it is, but it essentially makes your enemies attack normally only. They can't use any abilities, and they do technically do more damage on the normal attack, but they also receive more damage. So that's a really important strategic way to potentially skew the team fight by eliminating your enemy's ability to actually do the things they're good at via the abilities. In terms of his TMR, Lion King's Cloak, kind of similar to Stern, just in terms of the TMR skill, where Ruin Sterns is unit resistance, but this is AoE resist, so you can technically get more if you were to max this, bring it from 15 to 40, which is crazy. And then it's just got great stats. Oh, and it's an accessory, which is freaking awesome, which means you can put on a regular piece of armor on him and have this accessory, and it's got a absolute ton of defense, SPR, and HP. So this is going to be an amazing accessory to put on him overall, and I probably should have done it at the end, and I didn't, but I have a sample build I'll show you. The Flametongue Sword is also coming out. This is definitely the best weapon for him. You're going to be doing the Assault guaranteed. It's 143 attack, and then it increases fire attack 30 and slash attack 15, so direct upgrade for anything else that's in the game for him. In terms of the Phoenix Esper that is also going to be coming out in conjunction with him, this is a great freaking Esper. So the stats on him, probably one of the highest HP stats in the game. Attack is great. 13 agility is a little bit slower, but Mont is decently fast, so you can trade off if you're going to put it on him. Great luck stat, which is going to help the extra evasion. And then, pretty standard for the resistances. The cast skill, we see a lot of this all the time now, where it's an imperil, so there's a 50% fire imperil. And then for fellow fire units, it's 100% attack buff and increase their healing received, if I understand this correctly, for a couple turns, and then technically grants regen as well. So this is like a ton of stuff just in terms of survivability for the party, imperil the enemy, increase attack, awesome Esper ability. The Phoenix board, pretty awesome as well. So increased fire attack 25 and increased defense of 15. Both of these are really awesome, suited for King Mont, obviously. Increased ice killer, because fires at this point of the game really only exist to counter ice, and ice doesn't, it's such a strong cast that this is a really valuable potential modifier if you need it. Increased crit evade, which is extremely powerful for tanks, and I say that because you have a large health pool. One of the best things you can do to prevent yourself from dying is just eliminating the extra damage that you get from critical hits. And now that so many characters have crit rate up in the game, and there's accessories that boost the crit damage as well, this is a really important thing to making sure your tank survives longer, in addition to the resistances and the health pools and stuff. Increased water resistance 25 to kind of offset the weakness, but it's there. Increased strike resist 25, which is awesome because he's got a minus 10% resist to it. So if there's all of a sudden a strike meta, this Esper will be able to also give Mont a positive resistance against that. Really important. Magical creature killer. I don't remember seeing this in the game, so who knows how useful this killer is. Increase HP 8%, increase accuracy 7, and evoke damage pretty standard. So this Esper overall really, really awesome for King Mont. In terms of the fire cast, because obviously the game is going into a direction where the more mono possible, you're going to get a lot of synergies based upon the mastery abilities where they give each other element attack up and HP, and then vision cards obviously have party buffs suited for them. So let's look at the fire cast, because that's going to be an important thing going forward as well. Overall to date, the fire cast is really not used ever, and they actually don't even do a good job countering ice, just because they do have some significant weaknesses where all you need to do is throw in a magic user and then the fire cast goes to shit. So King Mont is going to do a huge improvement for this element overall. Technically, there's a Summer Ketone, which is in Japan, which might be released here, and she's one of the few URs that's kind of magic related. These are all basically physical uses, but let's get into it. The fire profile. So, long story short, they're physical, high attack, slash-oriented units. I added up all the jobs and sub-jobs of all the UR fire units. This is kind of the breakout. They're mostly slash. Obviously, they do have some versatility on a few of the characters, which is important, but by and large, they're a slash-oriented group. There is a variety of aggro, which I think is kind of interesting. Technically, Eld's Limit Break generates hate. Raldor and Delita have Top Blade. Rain has hate generation. This is kind of a breakdown of all the jobs as well, and there's decent breakout, not a ton of overlap, but they do obviously have overlap in the weapon types. One thing, they're very strong against Slash and Pierce, and overall weak to magic. And I say that because Slash and Pierce, every fire unit has positive resistances against those both. And for magic, out of the 7 here, 4 of them have negative resistances. So magic tends to be their Achilles heel, and there's some ways to fight that now potentially, now that King Mont is here to tank some of that magic damage. So that's really important. They are slower agility overall. The average in the game of everyone is 61. So if you're looking at agility, they're at or below average for the most part, which, if you're going to have higher health pools and be really brawly and have shield, obviously you got to compensate, give them a weakness, and that's usually in the way of agility or the magic weakness per se. But King Mont's the fastest of them all at 65, which is very, very fast. So that's really important for him to get a lot of turns in and maintain his hate. And then finally, they don't have dedicated healers. Technically, Adelard and Naya are healers on the fire cast, but they're just not good. I'll be honest, they're not. They probably have a use in class match when there's a cost limit and you're trying to synergize, but by and large in the game, fire is lackluster for any kind of healing. In terms of the fire-oriented vision card, so this also comes into play for the mono element stuff. This is the current list and the short-term list, because I included King Mont and Phoenix. Technically, they both get a vision card, right? Espers all get a vision card. A lot of these new characters get their corresponding vision card as well. These are the party buffs for fire only. Overall, I did a review on this as well. I'm not impressed by the fire ones, to be honest. Some of them are okay. Ifrit's probably my favorite by and large, just because it really does help counter the ice cast. But most of these either are, they don't do a lot for all the fire units at the same time. I don't think they significantly hedge their weaknesses enough, or I just don't think that it's very universal in the game for what you apply. So in particular, because a lot of these URs are time limit, or you don't use them anywhere else. Like Keepers of the Crystals, the AP up card, you're not going to be using that in competitive, even if it's a fire resist for a fire versus fire meta. Long story short, this is kind of the snapshot, but just highlighting some of the stronger vision cards. So this is the King Mont vision card that's coming out, and it's an absolutely amazing card. So it gives them more AoE resist, 10, attack buff of 10%, ton of HP in the card at 423, gives them an extra 4 defense for the party, gives everyone HP at 25%, increased defense debuff resistance by 20. It's very strong overall, just because they are very defense stacked, and for King Mont in particular, it's going to be hard to cleave through his defense, just in terms of defense break overall. The vision card buff, max damage, 2500. This is obviously unique to raid, so you're not going to get a ton out of it. And honestly, it's probably not my favorite fire card, but it is very good for King Mont. The one, and this probably is my favorite fire card now that it's going to be introduced soon, the Phoenix card, 362 HP, a ton of dexterity, which helps both crit rate and accuracy by a fair amount. 60 is pretty high. It also gives increased HP of 15%, so again, the fire cast is again more brawly, a lot of physical units, some barrier oriented. So both these cards will help increase HP pools for the fire cast. It's got magic resistance of 20, which is probably my favorite thing about it, which is why, as we highlighted, most of the fire cast has magic negative. This card will at least put them at 0, so I think that's really, really important just for the future of the fire cast. And then dexterity of 20%, same thing, accuracy and crit rate, and it does increase Pierce attack by 35. And although Pierce is kind of niche in the fire cast, as we saw, there's really only 2 people who use it. This will be valuable, and 35 is a pretty damn big modifier. The Death Machine also, limited card from the Warrior Light release, but this is a great card. Increased Pierce resistance of 10 to make King Mont or whoever you're equipping on, it's valuable. AoE resist of 20 for the party. So again, you're talking AoE resist everywhere. And then crit evade of 20, again, really, really powerful for the tanks and anyone in general. To be fair, it's probably more valuable for the smaller HP units, so they don't die as quickly or, hit that death threshold, and they can prevent getting chunked away. So really important for everybody, don't get me wrong. The other one's the Ifrit card, absolutely amazing, increased attack of 50%. What's amazing about this is that it also will apply to your non-fire units. Fire buff, though, is increased ice resistance of 20, which heavily skews that matchup, as if it wasn't already skewed enough by elemental advantage. This definitely puts a nail in the coffin for most of the ice units. And then Blades of Grass, it's honestly not my favorite fire card, and not a lot of people pulled for it just because it is in the past, and there was only one run of it. But the increase of accuracy 25 could be helpful depending on the evade meta we see come in, because a lot of these fire units don't have guaranteed hit in their kits, so being able to give them natural boosts of accuracy is really important. And then crit rate of 25, also super valuable. Just, that's kind of a recurring trend for a lot of these fire units. The MR VCs, most of these honestly are power crap just because of the stats, where yes, some of these have good HP, but overall you're taking a big hit on the attack stats, and overall the percentage stuff they offer is fair, but it's not great. But again, when you're considering the limited cost, either class match or guild wars, who knows how that comes into play, these hypothetically do have some value where, Marilith has attack of 30%. It's less than Ifrit, but 30% is not a huge drop off, you'd be surprised. The Path to Revenge, magic resistance of 15, Phoenix gives 20, so this is a small drop off, but much cheaper card, gives defense of 10, increased slash attack, which you saw a lot of slash units, so these do fit pretty well. You're just not going to use them in the majority of the game. In terms of highlighting a fire synergy, this is kind of one that a lot of people are excited for. It's essentially King Mont with Winter Machery, and she is getting an X upgrade that's going to make her absolutely top tier in the game, so this is really the synergy. And Old, I think, is okay, not my favorite, but I have been playing around with him, if you've maybe seen my video. And the reason why I throw him in here is because the synergy that I think a lot of people are going to be abusing is putting these two cards together in here, where Flamewing God, and I threw Old in here because it's got the magic resistance of 20, which essentially hedges his magic resistance altogether. But because it's the Pierce attack of 35, it's going to do a lot for both Machery and Old, hypothetically, depending on how you put them together. But the thing I really want to highlight is Mont in particular, and I gave him a sample build here. So this is the Flametongue Titus accessory, which I like a lot, just for the extra 5 agility. It's got crit rate up, it's got defense on it, and then the support skills, that's the one that generates immediate hate. This is agility and luck, actually, to make them faster and more evasive and more accurate. And so overall, the stats, when you put all of these vision cards with him, with Machery in particular, because she gives him the 10% HP boost, he actually eclipses 10,000 HP, which is absolutely insane. So increases HP of 10,000, defense of 55. 55, I mean, that's really, really high. The Spirit of 20, which is also very high. That's from the Platinum Helm here. When you consider this has defense debuff resistance, that means that, you're not going to be able to chunk away at that defense unless you have defense penetration. So that's really important. Attack of 832, which is actually pretty high for someone as tanky as he is, where there's more, you have to offset survivability with offensive potency, and 832 is a pretty happy number for me. And then agility of 89, which is very fast for a tank. It's probably the fastest in the game. And dexterity of luck, obviously, you can't really quantify these without the math equations, but ton of accuracy, and the evade's probably up in the who knows range. It's very high though. Slash resistances, or overall resistances, positive and everything except for strike 10%. And again, if you wanted to, you could make that positive depending on how you build the Phoenix Esper. I didn't put the nodes on there, but I could have done strike resistant, traded some of the other nodes. But this is, how do you beat this? How do you beat a 10,000 HP hero with 55 defense and all these positive resistances? And AoE resistance of 25, crit evade of 22. Like, it's immense. So, long story short, I'm really excited for King Mont because he's going to enable the fire cast in a way that hasn't been reliably done so in the past. He is just a really fun character, as we saw in the jobs, where he's got a bunch of versatility for like barrier breaks, some triple hits, and slash resistance down, and really some just unique things that create a lot of awesome interactions, which to me is the really fun thing of like brainstorming the chess matchup of when you put units in against each other, where once you start doing things like healing power down and, you know, berserk and status effects, it does also make for a more high level IQ thought of the game. So really appreciate his release. I'm really looking forward to it. Hopefully those of you who want to pull for him will get him, and it is going to be very expensive, don't get me wrong, because it is investing in him. It's also getting the Phoenix Esper. It's maxing both those vision cards. This is not a cheap endeavor by any stretch of the imagination, but, you know, highlighting when you do that, just how powerful that is. It is extremely powerful and will be meta defining for quite some time. So you know, thanks for watching. As usual, comments, critiques, criticisms, questions, all in the comments below. I love interacting with you all, and I'll do more content soon.